Here we are once again. Happy Halloween morning. Pretty exciting. I don't know if any of you have kids, grandkids, anybody that is going to be out trick-or-treating or seeing as they're trick-or-treating. I know some of the staff here are all dressed up. I guess I forgot to get my costume on. So. Oh, take a minute to see if anybody else joins us. So happy to have you all here. Just appreciate your forms filled out and your questions. You are just a blessing to me on these Tuesdays, so I appreciate our time together. Okay, so we've got a couple trainings to do. We're going to talk about just kind of some bladder and elimination systems, and we're going to talk about headache training. Also, I know we did talk a little bit about it, but that's one of the things that I love about our time together at our Tuesday groups is we get to take a deeper dive into those things that we don't always have time for in the coaching sessions. So thank you everybody for joining and for submitting your questions. Definitely appreciate it. So today let's go over the things that have been going well, good celebrations. So grab a ghoulish beverage or whatever you're drinking today and take some deep breaths and just sit back, shoulders down, relax. We just get to spend some time with friends today. So welcome to the new people that have joined us. We're so glad to have you here. I hope this is just a wonderful time to get your questions answered and to spend more time in community with other like-minded people. So thank you for joining us. Just remember to everybody that this is a closed group for those people that have decided to join us and have sent in the forms, and you would have filled out that you know that this is a group session and that it's recorded so that we can have a replay, and that we just ask for, you know, these sessions aren't covered by HIPAA. It's just who decides to gather in this group, that we just ask that you are respectful of each other's privacy and decide what you want to share. That is up to you, and everybody else just kind of what happens in group stays in group. So thank you for that. Remembrance. All right, let's get on to some celebrations here. So it's been a tough week, but I'm thankful that I'm in a better place than I was a year ago. Time is a healer. I'm also thankful for the wonderful support system I have. I love that you can still put a positive spin on even having our tough weeks. One of the biggest goals as we're in program is what I call resiliency. And it's not just cellular resiliency, that our bodies are more resilient and adaptable, but that we're emotionally resilient also, because we do know the impact that stress has on a body and that stress has on illness. And so we strive to help your cells and your emotions become more resilient as you go through program, because stressors aren't going to stop here. The illnesses aren't going to stop here. Symptoms aren't going to stop here. You'll have healing, and then you'll be back out in life, and you'll have other things that come up. But it does not have to completely shift us always from that SAM state to that Patty state. And those of you that are new, you're going to be learning about that very soon in sessions A5 and A6 coming up really soon. So hang in there. You'll learn all about Sam and Patty. We'll talk about it here some more also. But I'm really happy, Miss Client, for knowing that you have a support system. You have people to go to. We're happy to be that here for you. Next one, my neck and thus my migraines have been milder. Oh, such a blessing. Lots of people have been talking about migraines and headaches. And so that's why we're going to go a little bit deeper into that and just all of the things that go along with having migraines and headaches. Next one, I'm steadily moving towards positive and loving outlooks in all that I do. I really love that reminder. And I think we get so busy in our lives going from, excuse me, one thing to the next, to the next, to the next. And we're so task oriented that we forget that life really is about living. And I like your phrase, the loving outlook in all I do. I like to ask myself a question: what would love do in this situation? What would love think in this situation? Because I find that we get in our heads far too much, and our heads will guide us towards logic. But where we feel alive and where we feel like we're living is through that heart center. And so if we can have brain and heart coherence, all the better. Little fun fact, when you do your HRV training, So those of you that are new, you'll do HRV training in A3, A4, and A5 sessions when you go to therapy. And HRV training it does so many things, but since we're talking about the loving outlook today, it helps with brain and heart coherence so that you're able to use the tool of your brain, but you're also able to use that heart center that is all of who you are, and able to bring the two together and go forth in your movements forward. So I love that. Keep that in mind, Mr. Client, who wrote Loving Outlooks. I would challenge all of us to kind of keep that on our forefront, write it on a little sticky, put it on your notepad through the day, and just ask, how can I look at this situation with love? What can I learn from this situation? What would love do in this situation? It'll be a much more gentle approach to ourselves and to the people we interact with. Getting to be outside and doing some trail walking, fantastic for any of you that like to get out in the winter and do some trails. Right here in Little Falls at the Charles Lindbergh Park, they have trails, and they do even rent snowshoes and cross-country skis. So that is something that you can look forward to. I know we're having some struggles, some emotions about going into the winter, if you have commented on that. And so finding just some ways to be involved in nature, even when it's not the kind of season that we necessarily love to be in, finding some things that can bring some joy. Again, loving outlook. Getting to do morning prayer, so that is fantastic. I'm just curious. I would really love to know. I wish everybody was on and could raise their hands and let me know. I would love to know how many people are able to do morning prayer, morning meditation, morning dedication time, morning, time at the altar, time to just set your day. I would really love to know how many people start that way, just as an interesting thing. Okay, let's see. What has been challenging this week? Let's move on to those, and then we'll start what we need help with today. We'll kind of pull these together and get some questions answered. Let's see, what's been challenging? Sleep, constant pain, lack of energy. Also really struggling with the thought of winter and starting the third winter here without husband Mark. I really thought I'd be out of here by now. I think because of the lack of sleep and more pain, I have felt discouraged and sick of doing all the stuff to feel better. I've kept at it, but it's been a challenge. I really love the rawness in what you wrote here, and just the vulnerability and honesty with it. I'm spending some time. Have you ever done that exercise where you pick a word or two for the year, and that it just kind of ends up being your focus for the year? And I remember one year I had no fear. That was my focus. This year it was all about integrity, and having integrity as my word for the whole year kind of changed as the year went by, and it meant different things for me as the year went by. And this client, this is such a good statement of, like I said, that honesty and vulnerability and integrity. I think so often we don't live real. We don't live normal. We don't live organic to us. And we're trying to always do all the things. We're trying to put out the positive outlook. But integrity really is allowing. It's allowing the truth. It's allowing, you know what? Sometimes I don't feel like doing all the things. Sometimes I don't feel like sometimes I do need to be vulnerable. Sometimes I don't want to do it. It's just admitting and being honest with yourself about where you're at. And we don't let ourselves do that because we're always supposed to be positive, and we're always supposed to be on top, and we're always supposed to be productive. And what if we were just real humans? I mean, would that be so bad that we were just real humans having real emotions, and we didn't judge ourselves and we didn't judge other people for it? And the reason that I say this and why I think it's so important is because I spend so much time working with people that come to us, that trust us with the physical stuff. And we do not understand the connection between the physical and the emotional. And we have to because every emotion wants to get acknowledged. Every hardship wants to get acknowledged. Every hard thing wants to be acknowledged. And what doesn't ends up being the illness later on. What goes down in pain comes back up in pain. We are not being sneaky by hiding our emotions. We are not. they will come back out. And then guess what? They've blown up by that point. Think of a child at 2, 3, 4 years old. Something happens that they don't like, that they don't agree with. They're upset about it. They have emotions about it. And guess what? They have a temper tantrum. And then it's done. And these things don't become illnesses for them later in life because they were able to deal with the emotion. They were able to deal with the event as it came up. Now, I'm not saying that we have to have temper tantrums, but I'm saying if we feel an emotion coming up about something and we don't address the situation, we don't acknowledge the emotions that are happening and walk through it at that time, it's going to be much harder 5, 10, 20 years down the road when we don't remember why we got upset. We don't remember why we have all these stuck emotions that we know are stuck in the body. There is a fantastic woman, I think, look it up here. I can't remember her last name. There's a fantastic woman that does exercise specifically for somatic release. And so kind of her claim to fame, I think it's Tori Repa. Yes, R-E-P-A, T-O-R-I, R-E-P-A. Her claim to fame is exercises that she has put together for somatic release. She says we have stuck emotions in our body, and it's incredible the things that you can do to move and release those stuck emotions. It is by far better to just be in your moment and be real, have integrity, be honest about where you're feeling and acknowledge it at that time. Do whatever you can about that situation at that time so that you don't store it for later on. Now, this does not mean being run and ruled by our emotions. We still have a mind, we still have integrity, we still have the capability to rise above, but it's not about storing and hiding it. Maybe we need to put a pin in it until later so that we can fully process it, but processing is a big deal so that our physical does not have all this stuff that is stacked on top. When you are working through program, all of the modules are working to, when you get to the B sessions especially, those are where you're tying together the threads so you can kind of go back and discard, take it out and look at it, discard or keep it, whatever you decide to do, all of these emotions, all of these events, all of these thoughts, all of these things that you've been storing. We also have Dr. Jason Lepke with us, who does, he's licensed and trained as a chiropractor, but he's actually a zone healer. And that's a totally different ballgame. And there's a lot about somatic release when it comes to zone healing. So if you have not spoken with Dr. Jason while you have been in the office here, he is here Tuesdays and Thursdays. That's a fantastic way to deal with maybe some of the stuck stuff that is contributing to illness now. Gina is also here doing cranial sacral therapy. That is also a fantastic way to release some of the old stuck stuff. So I'm going to add that as our note, stuck stuff, how to get rid of the stuck stuff. And then as you move forward in life, like Mr. Client said, put a loving outlook on it. As you're going through your life, it's okay that, you know what, you might feel happy at lunch and you might feel a little disgruntled at, coffee time, and you might feel really happy and relieved at supper time. Then you might feel really angry after that. And it's okay. It's okay. Once you learn to use your emotions as a tool, you're not going to feel so up and down, but you're not going to be storing all of your emotions easily either. Sorry. So that is a good point. I'm really glad that you felt vulnerable and comfortable to share the reality of how you feel. I think every one of us can say we don't feel like doing all this stuff to feel better. And that's okay. Maybe it's okay to just spend a day on the couch and watch some of your favorite movies. Maybe I don't want to do some of this stuff, and that's okay. Have the image for yourself, have the goal for yourself so that you know you don't stay there, you don't stay stuck there. But it's okay to acknowledge this is just how I'm feeling right now. Life has been a lot and I feel like I need rest. Why is it so wrong to feel like you need rest? It's okay. Put all your stuff over here. Your lists will be there. You can come back to them when you're ready. But maybe you can just put it on the calendar. You know what? Life has been a lot, and I'm going to plan a me day, a me weekend, a me week, whatever it is that you need. By the way, researchers have identified that it takes 14 days for a vacation for a person to get to the point where they've kind of released the surface stuff, the top stuff, and actually have gotten down to a place where they can actually shift back into a real state of parasympathetic activity. So keep that in mind. If it takes 14 days and researchers have known that, why is that? Oh, why is that not okay? That we just put the stuff aside sometimes and just take care of ourselves in a restful way. Okay, moving on, more challenges. Still having lots of fatigue problems, maybe related to neck tension. Absolutely. Don't be scared of fatigue situations. Remember, all of you are here because your body is not acting on top of its game. And there's going to be fatigue with that because you need energy to run regular functions. Just normal breathing, heart beating, eye blinking, going to the bathroom functions. But you're all here because you have functions that are not working out of the normal, and you have emotions that are compounding all of that. So you need extra fuel, extra energy for that. It's going to be very normal all through our program to feel on and off again, or a long-term feeling of fatigue. We work all through program on what we call causing health. So sometimes it seems really unrelated, like, why am I spending time doing this meditation module when what I'm wanting to deal with is my urination problem? And it's because what we do is we try to get out of the way all of the superficial stuff, and we just get down to the core of what does a human body need to do to function. And if we do these functions, it causes innate health. These are the things that are natural and normal for the body. So if we get back on track with all those and we do those things, which is what those modules are all about, your therapies are starting to work on the individual things that are going on. And as you get deeper into your program, it's more of those individual things. Your MPAs, your mid-program assessments with me, we work more directly at what are those physical things that have recovered and what are those physical things that haven't yet. And we need to work a little bit deeper into those. So and just keep moving through program, especially those of you that are new. Get started with your modules. And even if you don't understand, why am I doing this when I just want to be focusing on this? Remember, we're doing all of the things that cause health. Your body innately knows what to do. But we've got all of these things that kind of compound it. And so we kind of just take it back and get back to what the body is meant to do. So I'll give you an example, and I'll give you an update too. So those of you that have been with me a while are aware that my son has had some heart challenges. And so it's very weird and unlikely for him. He's has always been a very healthy guy, very active. He's a boxer. He has a very busy, labor-intensive job. And he really has no rhyme or reason to be having heart problems. And so we identified some things through some assessments, and I saw that there were some electrical things. And so that is a thing that we need to refer out for that. And so we've been taking care of that, but he's been in and out of ER and hospital stays while they're figuring this out. I do believe I know what's going on now. And so we're monitoring, and he's doing much better. So thank you for asking. It's been 11 days and he has not had an episode that has brought him to the hospital. He's been here doing therapies twice a week, and his time in between how it feels in his heart has stretched longer and longer. And his percentages each day feel better and better. And completely forgot why I was going into that. So maybe that will come up. Yeah, interesting. Well, there's the update on Caden. Thank you for the questions asking about him. He's doing well. He's getting what he needs and getting taken care of. He's even, this is why I brought it up. I remember now. He's been in fear because he doesn't know when it's going to come again. And it's a very scary thing to have happen. And he thinks, it's something so scary. It must be something so majorly wrong that it must mean that there are really, really hard-hitting, heavy, medical things that are going to happen to correct this. And what he's found out is the months have gone on now, and they haven't been discovered, and the answers haven't been there for him medically. And so what I told him that we have to do is I said, we just have to get your body back to doing the innate things. It knows what to do. We've got to get things out of the way that are causing impedance. And we've got to make sure you're putting good things in. Those are the things you can do. While they are doing their monitoring and their assessments and they're figuring things out, these are the things that you can do. And so he is walking through, just like you guys are with program, he's walking through all of those cause health things and the therapies. And that's literally all we have done. And his symptoms are residing in his heart is normalizing. So I told him, I said, chances are that oftentimes in chronic things, medically, it doesn't get figured out. We may never know the answer for why. The body usually it just ends up taking long enough where the body ends up correcting it on its own. Now, obviously, have that medical guidance. Don't just say, oh, my body will figure this out. You need the right people on your team. You need that medical support so that you're safe and you're dotting all of your I's. So just understand that your body is just so wise. There's so much wisdom in those cells in that nervous system. And so through the work of the program, we are learning from that nervous system. We're learning what is recorded in its program that it's delivering to the cells. So then we can understand how the cells, the physical body, are actually acting. So let's not get so caught up in the symptom, the name, the diagnosis, and how we feel. And let's instead let how we feel and our symptoms be a guide for us. Our symptoms and our emotions are instructing us. So instead of getting caught up in these symptoms that we're not liking, or all the stuff that we don't want to do to feel better, we're not liking how we're feeling right now, let's use them as a guide. It's telling us a lot about your body. Okay, even having the fatigue and even having the neck tension. It's your body's way of communicating with you because it can't open up and have speech. It can't have language. So it uses it through your emotions and through your symptoms. Mr. Client that wrote that challenge, B10, you're going to get into the new cog training where you are going to be relating how your body physically feels and where you've seen that before in your life so that we can kind of connect it back to your nervous system events, your nervous system timeline. So that's going to be a really helpful session for you too. And for those of you that have already gone through that session, even if you're having physical symptoms or you're having emotional things, go back and do the new cogs. If you're just, you know what, I don't want to do all this stuff, write that as your topic. I don't want to do all this stuff and see where that's coming from. There's a reason that your body is feeling like that and it's giving you that topic. So how am I feeling this physically? How am I feeling this emotionally? How does it make me want to act? What does it make me do? What does it make me think and say? Where have I seen this before? This is your opportunity to connect the dots back to events in your timeline where you would have felt this before, you know, those stuffed emotions that we didn't deal with at that time. This is your opportunity to identify those. Now, just like we were there, we can identify them and we can deal with those emotions and we can correct them right there. We can resolve them, we can process them so that they don't stay stuck inside anymore. Okay, let's see. Oh, another good one. I'm having a lot of negative script or what I call worst case scenarios coming up in my mind, mostly when I'm out and around other people, like when you're out dog walking. This is another fantastic, open, honest, vulnerable sentence. And I love it so much. And I thank you for sharing it with everybody. What triggers in my mind when I read this, what I call worst case scenarios, you said, what triggers in my mind is because I work so much with psychoneuroimmunology, I work so much with the nervous system and what the nervous system has recorded for you. It's really common. I happen to know you, Mr. Client, and I know that you're in a sympathetic dominant state, which a lot of us that have ended up in program are. When you're in a sympathetic dominant state, you are being wary and cautious of that tiger all the time. You are hyper vigilant to anything that could be triggers, anything that could be dangers or threats. And so worst case scenarios are one, if you're just moving through your day, you're walking down the street, the worst case scenarios are one of the ways that the nervous system, that the mind works to keep you safe because it's being very aware of what could happen. And then it's giving you a plan. Sounds silly, but we had to do this. My oldest son, when he was young, he did this worst case scenario planning all the time. And it would be silly things. And he would be like, but Mom, what if a comet hit the earth? And it's like, as a mom, you want to just be like, you're fine. That's never going to happen. That's literally like the chances of that happening are so tiny. There's so many other things you could worry about. But in his case, he had already had trauma by this point. His brain had already started being really hypervigilant. He had already started having to think ahead and protect himself in case of the worst case scenario. And so this is just something that your brain is normally doing right now. It's not normal. That's why we're going to work on shifting you into that parasympathetic situation. But so for Evan, what we did is I said, okay, let's come up with a plan then. Yep, you're right. There is a possibility that the comet could hit Earth. What would we do? And he comes up with a plan and he feels all better. So that I would say for the state that you're in a sympathetic dominant state, automatic thoughts, which is coming up in B, I think it's B11, B12. You're going to talk about what are these automatic thoughts you have? Why does your brain automatically go to these things? Your brain is automatically going to creating worst case scenarios as a way of protection, as a way of having a plan so that you feel like you have some control over your situation. If that makes sense and is helpful. Okay, let's go on to what we're needing support with this week. Let's see, just the above. Sleep and constant pain. So I spent time addressing that, not wanting to do all the stuff to feel better. And I hope that that answers how we might address your support need this week, that maybe it is just about integrity, honesty, and vulnerability, and planning for yourself some downtime, planning for yourself a time where you don't have to do all the things. That might be something that we need to work on. And then let's see, winter, sleep, constant pain. I want everybody to understand about pain. Pain is often obviously related to injury, but pain, especially chronic pain, is so frequently related to the things that have been stuffed and stuck, and the things that we haven't allowed ourselves to express, the emotions we haven't had. We might even think that we've cried a lot, but have we been angry? Have we allowed ourselves, have those tears also been angry? Have we allowed that anger to come out in a safe place where you are? This doesn't mean go and have an outburst on just anybody that's there, but have you expressed the anger that might be coming along with those tears too? And I know that that's a big one for people because we've been told being angry is bad. And that's not the case. It is a human emotion. It lets us process in a different level. And pain is one of those things where it is so frequently stuffed and stuck emotions with no way out. Remember I said, if it goes down in pain, it's coming back up in pain. It will not. Once you stuff it, it will not stay stuffed. Just a little tip for you. It's going to come up. And when you are in program and when you do the therapies for like pulsed electromagnetic frequency, the sauna, far infrared, light therapy, so much of that is helping the body to release. Yes, it softens pain, the feeling of pain, but so much of it is for release from the cells. There's some interesting documentation about the body being an electrical body, and that's been studied, since Einstein and Tesla, and then it was kind of put away and kind of poo-pooed, and then it's made its headlines again. And if you want to look up some information about that, look up biofield, healing the biofield, the electrical body. There is fantastic information about there now, books galore, research galore. I happen to really believe in the biofield theory. I think that's where our subconscious lives. I don't think it's just stuck in the parts of our brain. I think that our feelings, our pain, our emotions, we feel it as pain because it's literally stored in the energy that emits from our body. Some people call it what's around the body the aura. Your cells, every single cell of your body emits an energy field. And those energy fields combine and combine and combine, where we can actually feel your energy field about 6 feet out from your body. And it's this continuous turbulent energy of cycling energy all throughout the body. And there are some studies of people doing frequency work in the biofield where they can feel people's emotions, they can feel people's pain far out from the body. And they can even start relating, I can feel this about 3 feet out. This is when we're about 30 years old. They can feel the storage. Remember how we've said the cells store everything. The cells store what you've gone through, your emotions, your thoughts, your nervous system records that. Where does that information go? Where's the mind? Mind isn't just in your brain. It's not locked into certain parts of your brain into a little cabinet. the mind it's not a physical thing. So yes, there's memories stored in parts of the brain, but where's pain stored? Where's emotion stored? If the mind doesn't exist as a physical thing, where is the mind then? So biofield information is really intriguing, really interesting. Part of the cause health things that you're doing is doing some of these therapies where you're not even realizing that your biofield is getting worked on. If I think of the name of that book, it's a fantastic one. I think it's called Electric Body, Electric You, something like that. If I think of that, I'll pass that on to all of you. But a lot of people that are in program and a lot of people that filled out the form this week was talking about pain, whether it comes as a migraine issue, whether it comes from degenerated discs, whether it comes from neck injuries or just whole body pain with arthritis. I would challenge you to get out your new cogs and maybe use pain as the topic. I would challenge you to get out a timeline, just a piece of paper where you can write the timeline of the events and the things you've experienced through your life, even if they seem like they're not really major, they're not much of anything. Write the timeline of the things that you have experienced, because these are the types of things that maybe haven't been processed. If you're still remembering them now, chances are pretty good they are in an upper part of your conscious mind, and you're remembering them far more than you actually should be remembering them. And we're trying to store them, and we're trying to contain them, and we're trying to manage them, and we're trying to, encapsulate. This is pain. This is pain that ends up getting stuck and trapped in the bodies. I worked with a doctor once who said he believes that 98% of physical ailments actually come from an internal mental or emotional start. And I would venture to agree with him. Very interesting. Okay, needing some support with, let's see, the frequent urination issues, migraines, neck degenerated discs, stomach bloating issues. So to the person that wrote this, you're just getting started in program, and I really want you to get some of the sessions underneath your belt and see what happens with your body pulling some of those sticks out of the river. By the time you get to your first mid-program assessment with me, we're going to see what's petered down, what is still there, and what we need to do moving forward from there. So really trust your body, take the information that we're giving you so far, but trust your body and trust your symptoms. And instead of labeling them as symptoms that are bad, you recognize your symptoms and work to understand, what are they storing? What are they storing? What are my migraines telling me? I can tell you, I used to be a huge sufferer of migraines where they were just constant every day. And I worked through there's so many layers to why migraines happen. And I had gotten it down to where there's just the one migraine that comes around period time. But migraines have such an interesting intellectual connection and emotional connection. And I can guarantee you, so many of the people that I work with migraines, and what was true for myself, it was like I was trying to control, maintain, and manage everything all on my own instead of seeking outside help or seeking the right kind of outside help. I would just think it out. I can figure this out. I can solve this. I can figure this out. I can solve it. And it was literally, the more that I thought, if you could think of all the thought bubbles as actual things, it was like thought bubbles just kept stacking in here to the point where there was just no more space for thought bubbles anymore. And it is a literal pressure. And why I didn't want to talk it out or to bring it to anybody else was because I didn't want to burden anybody. I didn't think anybody could help me. It might hurt the person that I'm talking about. I was embarrassed to admit the things I was saying. I was judging myself. I was shamed. I was guilty. There was so much judgment. Once I actually let it out, so I took some paper and I wrote, I'm like, okay, what if the things that what if this is my truth? What if I am just a bad person? What if I really do just, these are just bad things in me. And I just wrote it out as if that was the truth. It's like, you know what? You don't want to be in your marriage anymore. For those of you that don't know, that was a huge emotional thing for me. That marriage dissolving, that is a challenge. And I just wrote it out and was like, okay, maybe I am just a bad person. What if I am? I'm a bad person. Fine. I want out of this marriage. Fine. Things that I was scared to admit to. And I think it's those things that we're scared to admit to. And then we retain so much judgment. We retain so much guilt. And if you don't have a person that you can talk to about that with, which, by the way, your coaches are fantastic people because they aren't going to say anything to anybody. Obviously, not only are they marked by HIPAA, but they're just compassionate people where they're really here to help. They don't take your garbage and judge you with it. It's literally left at the door. They don't go and come and talk to, everybody else about it. They're fantastic people. But if you can't say the words out loud, do it to yourself in a mirror. Do it in a bathroom with the closed curtains. I remember I did go and get help from a person that I trusted. And it was kind of funny though, because she knew I was going to release things and say things that I'd been really struggling with and have been judging myself for it. And it was funny because she has all these windows in her room. And she was like, shall we make you a little cocoon? Should we make you feel safer? So she closed all the windows and she closed the door and just kind of, it was really cute because I felt like I needed that protection for the things that I was about to say. But I can guarantee that was a huge, huge problem with having migraines was these hard, painful things just batting around in my brain, literally just hitting against the walls of my brain. And I know that stored emotion, stored things that you're not being honest about, that is some of the hardest reasons for migraines. So maybe just get out a piece of paper, stand in front of a mirror, say the things you haven't been willing to say the things out loud that you're judging yourself for with nobody else listening, but you can actually hear the truth coming out. So let's see if that ends up providing some guidance for you and being helpful. For those of you that do suffer from headaches, I want you to know there are so many things there's so many levels and layers of headaches. And that's part of why we do program, is because there isn't going to be one specific thing like, oh, you have this symptom, this is the thing you do, see you later. If that's the case, it's going to be a pill or a supplement. And that's what we're trying to get away from. We don't want to follow that same medical avenue. When we spend more time together, we can unearth and get to know why your body is having the symptoms that you're having. But headaches are definitely one of those. Pain is definitely one of those where it's so many things. It could come from your teeth. It could be a virus. It could be hormone relationship. It could come from an old tick bite or an old mono that you had as a kid. It could be chronic pain from an injury. It could be, which, by the way, do we believe that can be released? Because I do. There's going to be emotions stored over that injury too. And I think it's worthy to get that emotion released. It could be from foods. It could be from your eyes. It could be from allergies in the environment. It could be stress tension. It could be rumination. I want to let you know that we hear all the time, let go, let God, drop shoulders. I think that's still important wisdom because we're doing this so frequently and then we're breathing right here. And we're cutting off the oxygen from our heart, our lungs to our brain. So drop shoulders. Use that as a phrase all the time, drop shoulders. But I read a quote somewhere where when you're having pain, when you're having chronic illness, when you're having migraines, and you're like, I don't know what to do. I just don't know what to do. She said, stop saying, I don't know. And instead say, I am connected with the intuitive intelligence. I know exactly what to do and I'm doing it. It is such a different, when you acknowledge that, when you say it in a different way, when you look at it from a loving outlook, it's like admitting, it's like honesty, it's like opening up. And you're like, wait a minute, I do know what to do. I may have not wanted to do it, but I do know what to do. You'd be surprised how many times you're realizing you kind of do have a hint at the answer. So yeah, I challenge you to use that instead of I don't know. It's I do know. I am connected to the divine intelligence, and I know exactly what to do, and I'm doing it. Okay, let's see. A little bit more support for this week. Having problems with eating too much, actually overeating, working on sticking to 2 meals a day, one at 9 a.m. and one at 6 p.m. And letting go of sugar and caffeine because they affect you in bad ways. I'm so glad that you are aware of that. You can read into your body. There's cloudiness in the urine. There's distinct smell when you have a lot of sugar, and caffeine makes you pee a lot. Absolutely. Absolutely. A lot of times people will drink coffee just because it helps them to urinate and helps them to have bowel movements. And definitely could be a reason for a frequent urination. The type of diet that you're doing is going to help to release a lot of the sugar intake And we're just getting to learn your body. You're doing 2 meals a day. Go ahead and stick with that until we learn your body a little bit more. Sometimes that doesn't work for people because we need to have glucose being fed from our tissues or for our tissues all throughout the day. So that may need to change down the road, but a big thing that you can work on and that everybody can work on is what is your level of sugar intake? What is your level of caffeine intake? And I'm just going to say even 100 years ago, even 50 years ago, sugar and caffeine were not normal things. That was not normal for us to do. The level of sugar, they said it's what did they say, 200, 2,000? It's a ridiculous number. 2,200 times the amount of sugar is what we're actually eating from 50 years ago. And it's absolutely going to cause problems in the body. Sugar is a congester. Keep that in mind. So new people in A3, you're going to learn what a congester is. You'll learn your food functions. The congester category are usually the problem categories. Those are usually the triggering foods. But yeah, I would challenge you, Mr. Client, to do as little caffeine as you absolutely need to get by. You know, if you need a little caffeine to stave off the withdrawal headaches, then you can gradually work your way down. Awesome. Sugar, there's lots of options for sugar. Honey, maple syrup is better, cloudy, or not cloudy, xylitol, and date sugar. There's so many other sugars out there than refined sugars. Still, the goal is, why do we need that sugar? If you're craving sugar, that's a symptom, that's a sign, that's your body giving you guidance again. So pay attention when you take that sugar. How do you feel? How do you act? And so for you, Mr. Client, you're just going to be getting started on diet. Remember, I gave you that different diet to kind of pay attention to and follow. So look up the information there. Your coach will be able to help you with resources that way also. Okay, let's see. Just had what was interesting to you. A meetup group had your initial visit with me, interested in the potential for this program, hidden toxins in the home. I'm really glad that you're seeing the value of things coming out. This is really important to us. We're kind of a research project. We're kind of a hub site. We're trying to change how healthcare is in the world, and having therapeutic, proactive relationships like this is the way that we're doing that. And so as you are all working through on your individual things, we're collecting all of this data. Every module that I have put into the program has been curated over 18 years of things that work. And you'd be surprised how many of them are so simple and they actually work to help to bring about causative health in the body. It's called salutogenesis. If you've never heard that word, it's salutogenesis rather than pathogenesis. And so as you are working on your own individual stuff, you are helping compile case studies and evidence so that we can prove the things that are in these modules, the proactive therapeutic relationship, spending more time with each client and getting to know their bodies and empowering them to make choices and kind of pulling all of the things together. This is providing information to the rest of the world. So not your personal information, just the data of what works, what does not work. So I just so appreciate you all participating in program, not only to help yourself, but how it's changing the world inevitably. So I hope that answers all your questions. I hope that gives you some good things to take with you over the rest of your week. I'm looking forward to seeing what your questions are and joining you next week. If you're out there celebrating All Hallows Eve, have some fun. This is a really good time for play. Remember, life is about play and having fun. It's not all about doing all this stuff. So go out and enjoy yourselves, and we will see you next week.